So it's as tall as I want it now, and I'm ready to start finishing off. But before I finish off, I just wanted to tell you a few things. I think my video stopped, the last video just stopped before I was ready. Too many photos on my phone, memory space full. So once I went up the walls, what I actually did was, rather than going through just the back of the stitch, I've started going through the whole stitch. Two reasons for this. A, it's much easier because getting into here can be a little bit tricky. It's not difficult, it's just a bit of maneuvering. But B, it actually anchors it. It's a bit stronger having that 2 rather than just that 1. So it just was gave it a bit more strength for the walls of the basket. But aside from that, all I've been doing is going on, adding more raffia as needed, and also just sort of wiggling. You can see at this stage it is, the raffia is from a palm, so it's actually a natural plant fibre. It is dried, so it's not going to do any more drying or shrinking or whatever, but it does have a nice bit of flexibility to it. So while you're doing it, you can wiggle it about, and if it gets a bit wonky, you can sort of wiggle it back into shape as well. I'm really happy with the proportions of this. It's tall enough that I feel like it's useful to put toys or all those bits that end up around the house or whatever. But not too tall that it's going to start to get too wobbly or then too deep. But that's up to you as well, what you want to use it for. So to finish off, all you do is you stop adding raffia. You want it to get smaller because it's a spiral we're working in. There's not an actual end point that we're going to say, well, this is where we began, so this is where we end. So you're going to see the end of it. So you want to make it look sort of as natural as possible. So you don't just cut it off. You ease it out. It's like when you have your hair layered rather than a blunt cut. So you gently make this less and less, and you keep on going, and you might find that some of your strands are really long and you're ending up going with 2 strands, and that's just silly. Because you have to have a little bit of something in here. You can't just go around just one thing. So what you can do is start to cut it. And don't cut it all in one lump. Again, think of that thing of having your hair layered. We're layering it out. So we're doing it a little bit and we're evening it out. So, and then keep doing it. Depending on what yarn you're using, it might be a bit harder at this stage. I really, really love this yarn and I love the colour combination, but this is a very fine, slippery yarn, and for this sort of style of chunky basket, I definitely needed the 2 strands. So keep that in mind depending on what you're working on, what you're working with and what you're making. Otherwise, maybe go down a crochet hook size. All right, I'm going to finish here and I'm going to snip those last bits off because it's just getting too little now. So what I do is I'll just do one last stitch that's sort of keeping all those covered, and then one last stitch that's around no raffia. And I'm going to cut the tails about there, and I'll do one slip stitch just to finish it off. There's raffia caught in it. And now I'm going to weave it in. And all that means is just pulling it through. Cut this bit of raffia off because that's going to look a bit awkward. Now you could have snipped it off so you weave it in the whole end, the whole way around. That'll create a nice little pattern if you wanted to do that. Obviously I didn't pre-think that, which would have been lovely because it's creating a nice little top. So if you're going to do that, measure how long it needs and make it a little bit longer, but that's all right. If you didn't want to do that, get a smaller crochet hook or even a sewing needle and you actually can thread it back through here. But this looks really pretty and it's quite a nice way to finish it off. I might add some more in, just tie a little knot and add some more because it's creating a nice little topping to it. But otherwise, you would thread this onto a needle. So you could do them individually if you've got 2 strands. Thread onto a needle and you actually, and I don't have one with me unfortunately, thread your needle with your yarn on it and run it back underneath all of this, under there. And it hides inside and then you can pull it out and snip the tail. But you go backwards from the way you've been working because that creates that nice resistance to pull it back against. Simple as that. It's sort of like, you know, weaving the tails in on any crochet you do, but you can weave it right inside the raffia. But this looks really pretty here. And that, you lovely people, is that. So this tail, you'll need to weave that little bit in there. So I'm going to go get a needle and weave it in. And I don't think I need to worry. I don't notice that much. Now, this has got a lot of shaggy bits. You can trim it back as much as you like. I actually really like some of them. I think they add a bit of character. But I suppose it depends on your style, where it's going to be, what it's going to be used for, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't trim too much because I really sort of like that feel of it. It's definitely a lot messier than the other version of my basket weaving, which I find I barely ever need to trim back. Only a few bits here and there occasionally. But this is definitely needs much more of a trimming. So that's it. That's how you make a core wrapped crochet basket. Sort of really easy. Takes time. This took a good few hours, which makes you definitely honour. So you can see here where it started the spiral up, that bit there, that step up. Makes you definitely remember and honour the people who make baskets traditionally and the ones we go and buy for not very much money from all those fancy shops or the health food shops. If you're really interested in learning some more basket weaving, I do have a course that you can check out. And it doesn't use a crochet hook, it uses a needle, so it's a different style of weaving, but it does use raffia. And I also talk about how I dye my raffia using kitchen scraps, kitchen supplies and compost scraps and stuff like that. So I'd love to see what you've made and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks.